Hey everybody, welcome to my channel, and I'm excited to be here. And I am going to go over the most commonly asked questions that I get from buyers who are looking to either relocate to Florida or make a move in Florida about home insurance, flood insurance, and property taxes. So riveting information, I know, but everybody is curious. So let's start with the first one. Okay. What type of insurance do you need? Because you have home insurance, flood insurance, there's also a home warranty. And what do each of those do? So for home insurance, if you are going to have a mortgage on there, the mortgage company is going to require that you have home insurance. And if you don't have a mortgage, you're not required to have it, but I certainly do advise it. Then if you have a mortgage and you live in an area where there is your required flood zone, then they are going to require that you do carry the flood insurance. If you do not live in a required flood zone area, it is optional. You can choose to purchase it or not purchase it. Some people just like to have it for peace of mind. And then home warranty. Now, you may be a fan of them, you may not. Some people like car warranties, home warranties, computer warranties. They're not required, but you can certainly get a home warranty if you want. The home warranty is not going to cover the house against flood or fire, things like that. It's usually going to be like a mechanical components, like if the refrigerator stops working. You'll want to look at that insurance policy for those appliances and those items to see what your coverage is, what your deductible is, and then what the process is to engage that warranty. But if you're a warranty person and you like that, then you probably shouldn't have any problem figuring out what the home warranty is. So those are the different types of insurance that you would have. Now, the next question, this is very, very popular. Can I get home insurance in Florida? And listen, I get it. With what we're hearing on insurance right now, people are wondering, can you even get home insurance? So you want to buy a house, but can you buy it if you can't get the insurance? And I will tell you, yes, you can get insurance in Florida. Is it easy on certain types of property? It can be difficult and it can be expensive on that. So yes, you can get it. So let's go to the next question, because this is, we'll build on it. It goes, how do I know if I can get insurance for the home you want to buy? So you will want to look into things on the home, like when was the roof updated, the HVAC, the electrical panel, the plumbing, those type of items. The older the home is and without those updates, it may be difficult to find insurance, or it can be expensive to find insurance. So the newer the home is, the better the condition, the more options you're going to have, and the lower your premium is going to be. The older the home is, or the things are going to come up on the report, you will have fewer insurance companies that will underwrite you, and the ones that do are going to be very, very expensive. And hold on to your thought there, because we are going to build on that one. So the next question is 4-point inspection versus wind mitigation inspection. And I want you to get those right away. So when you find the house that you are looking for and you're thinking, okay, I want to buy this house, I'm going to get my inspections done. And what other inspections do I need to do? Well, you want to get your home inspection done, which is entirely separate. But the person who's doing your home inspection can also do a 4-point inspection and a wind mitigation inspection. They are not the same. A 4-point inspection is going to look at the 4 major items. That is going to be, let me see here. It's going to go over your roof, your electrical, your plumbing, and your HVAC. So the inspector, when they're going through the entire report, is going to have a separate report just for this, and they're going to have a lot of questions that the insurance companies are looking for. They will fill that out. If it doesn't meet the insurance company's requirements, you may have one of the 4 points that fail. So let's say the electrical panel is original and it's like cloth wiring. Everything else may have been updated and it's fine, but you can fail on the electrical panel. Now, can you still get insurance? Yes, there will be somebody who will write your insurance It may not be the premium you want, but you can still get it. So it's important to know what that's going to cost. Now, I said that the 4-point is going to cover the roof, but you also need a wind mitigation. So what's the difference between the 4-point on the roof and then the wind mitigation? The wind mitigation is assesses how well a home is protected against wind and water damage. So on the 4-point, the inspector is going to look at it. They're going to say they estimate there's this much life left in the roof. But on a wind mitigation, they're going to look at tie downs, they're going to look at strappings, and that is going to give you a better discount on there. So when you are getting your home inspection, I would also pay for the 4-point inspection and a wind mitigation inspection. They are not included in the home inspection, but they are additional. But the insurance company is going to ask for them to give you a quote. Some of them won't even quote you without it. Other ones will give you a, worst case scenario because, we only remember the good number. And then when we hear the bad number, we don't like that. So some will not quote you. Some will give you worst case scenario, but those will actually determine if you can get insurance and what your insurance premium is going to be. Now, remember I said I wanted you to get these done ASAP? Well, that is because in the inspection period, in an as is contract, if you're looking at the far bar as is contract, you can get out for any reason in the inspection period. So if you look for what your insurance costs are going to be, and let's say in your mind you were planning that they were going to be $2,500 a year, but you now find out that your insurance is going to be $5,000 a year, and that really throws off your mortgage payment, you can make a decision that, hey, this isn't going to work for me, or you might be able to negotiate some repairs or do something in the contract to help you with that. And I mean, so if let's say you fail a point in there, we said the electrical, right? You fail the electrical and it's going to cost you $5,000 to get insurance. But if you get the electrical updated, then it's going to be that $2,500. But now you find out to get the electrical updated, it's going to be $3,000. So you could go to the seller and negotiate that or walk away, whatever you decide to do, but you can look at that in the inspection period. After the inspection period, it might be too late. There's a lot more that goes into that, but that's not what the video is about. If you have questions on that, let me know, and I can either make another video or address it privately if you want. So another popular question, I think I just covered that, is to get them during the inspection period. One, because the insurance company is going to want that 4-point and wind bit to give you an accurate quote. Number two, you want to be able to negotiate with the seller if there's anything you want if one of the 4 major pieces failed or one or more failed in there. I will tell you from personal experience, I was buying a house. We knew that we were going to have to redo the bathroom. We knew that the bathrooms were taken care of. Insurance was very expensive because our 4-point failed the plumbing all throughout the entire house, failed. It was not just the incoming water, it was also the outgoing pipe. We were able to get an insurance company that did give us insurance, but the premium was astronomical. We were able to negotiate with the seller more off of the list price so that at the time of closing, we had already contracted a plumber to come in and completely repipe and replumb the house inside of 30 days. Then we sent photos and paid receipts to the insurance company, and they adjusted our premium. So there's a way to get the insurance. It can be a little tricky, but you can get it. And this really only applies to older homes. If you've got a new home, this really isn't going to be an issue. You'll still want to get that because your insurance company could give you bigger discounts. So I would get that during the inspection period, just so you know, and you can make informed decisions at that point. So let me check here. Great. Now, we have, what if the insurance premium is higher than expected? Well, great thing we just talked about that. You might be able to negotiate with the seller to have some help repairing or replacing an item, or you might be able to take money off of the property. If none of that works and you're not happy, at least you can exit the purchase agreement and not be forced to move forward with a bill that's going to be really, really, really high. This is very, very popular. When a lot of people are looking at the flood insurance, they say, hey, the seller is not carrying flood insurance. They don't have to carry it. So this must not be in a flood zone, and I'm not going to have to carry flood insurance either. Well, that's not necessarily true. The seller may not have a mortgage. And remember, I said without a mortgage, you're not going to be required to carry flood insurance. But if they have a mortgage and the flood maps have changed, the mortgage company may not know that the flood maps have changed and the house is now in a flood zone. And it was just a matter of time before they found out and made the seller or the homeowner at the time have to buy flood insurance. So do not rely on whether the homeowner does or does not have flood insurance to know if the home is in a flood zone where your mortgage provider may require that you carry the flood insurance. Okay. Next, our next question is, where do you find flood insurance information? FEMA. You can literally just go to FEMA.gov, or you could do flood, you know, flood zone or flood map, and it will come up. You can put in the address of the property, and it will display where it sits in the flood zones. Now, all of Florida is in a flood zone. People will say, oh, I'm not in a flood zone. You are. The entire state is rated for flood. It's just, what is the probability that your house will flood in a 100-year period? So the low risk areas are a flood zone X. And then when you get into the higher risk areas, you've got like A and V. I can't remember all of them. It depends on if you're inland or if you're on the water, but it will tell you if you're in a required flood zone or a high risk or a low risk flood zone on there. And the flood zone rating will affect your premium. So again, everything's rated for flood. Low risk is going to have a low flood insurance premium, but high risk is going to have a higher flood insurance premium. Now, do you have to buy flood insurance? If you have a mortgage, you do. If you don't have a mortgage, you don't have to buy flood insurance. You don't even have to buy home insurance. But if you have a mortgage, you are going to be required to carry the flood insurance. Now, remember I told you that if you're in a required flood zone area or a high risk area, flood insurance is expensive. And people always ask, is there any way to lower my premium? Well, yes, you can absolutely lower your premium. And how do you do that? You get what is called a flood elevation certificate. And who does the flood elevation certificate? The surveyor. So when you are having your survey done, if you need to have a survey done, you would ask them to add on an elevation certificate. If you are not having a survey done and the survey that they already have is good, you would still call the surveyor and just order the elevation certificate. And so it says here, it's the document that provides detailed information about the building's elevation relation to the flood zones. So you could be in a flood zone, but your house could be so high off of the ground. Maybe you're on stilts, or you've got a lot of concrete at the bottom and your house is very, very elevated. So the risk of you flooding may be like non-existent. Well, that elevation certificate is going to say, hey, even though they're in this required flood zone, they are so high up, it's really not likely. And that won't get rid of the premium entirely because there's going to be a base premium, but it's going to drastically reduce the premium. So a flood elevation certificate is going to be what you want if you want to reduce your flood insurance premium. And so I just answered that question. Where do you get it? Surveyor. Okay, property taxes. Property taxes is the next area that really throw people off. On the property taxes, do not rely on what you see. So every county has a property appraiser's website. When you go there, it will have the property taxes for the current owner. And a lot of people will look at that and they'll say the property taxes are high or the property taxes are low. And they think that that's going to be their property taxes. It's not going to be your property taxes. Never, never rely on that to be your property taxes because the taxes are going to be reset on the purchase price of the home and any exemptions you're entitled to. So I have a friend of mine, due to an injury that he has, he does not pay property taxes. He is a quadriplegic. So if somebody were to buy his house and see that he does not pay property taxes and think that they got a windfall, no, 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 no. He qualified for that. You may not qualify for that. The other thing with property taxes is you will see in the same subdivision, you will see one house, let's say the property taxes are $3,000 a year, and the house next door, almost identical, is $6,000 a year. And you're wondering, like, I don't understand why one is so much more expensive than the other. I'm going to buy the one with the lower property taxes because that will extend to me. It's not. What's going to end up happening is the house with the lower property taxes is most likely owner occupied, and they probably already have some exemptions in there that help them lower their property taxes. Also depends on how long they've owned their home. We have Save Our Homes here in Florida. So there's going to be a lot of factors that go into that that will affect that property tax. Now, remember the house next door I said was like $6,000? That could be that that house is not owner occupied. They have a tenant in there or it is a second home, so they did not get those exemptions. They don't get the Save Our Homes either. Now, will it hit you for the remainder of the year that you buy it? Yes, the property taxes are due at the end of the year. So when you buy it and you buy the home with a $6,000 property tax, that will be your tax base for the rest of the year. But then in the following year, you will apply if you're going to do a homestead exemption. If you're going to move into it, you'll apply for a homestead exemption, and then your property taxes are going to be different based on the fact that you may be living in the home. But the same goes true if you buy the house with the lower property taxes because it's owner occupied and you're putting a kid that's going to go through college into that house. You will not get that owner occupied break and your property taxes will go up. So it's going to be very, very important to know what the status of the seller is and why the property taxes are what they are. But more importantly, it's really going to be important to find out what are your taxes going to be, regardless of what's going on with the seller, because that's not going to come into play for you. What are your property taxes going to be? So, how do you get an estimate? Your lender and your title office, this is what they do for a living, okay? Your real estate agent, we can calculate them. Honestly, I don't like to calculate them. Of all the things that I do as a real estate agent, this is not what I'm best at. I go to a professional and I get real numbers because they're going to ask all those questions. So I always go to my lender and I have them estimate out the property taxes for me. And I also contact my title office that's going to do the closing. And I tell them, hey, the house is going to sell for around $600,000. It's going to close middle of July. They are going to be owner occupied. No, I don't think they get any other discounts like widowed or blind or anything else that's in there, vet. And so they will come up with an estimation on what those property taxes will be. So that is the best place to get them. Also, property appraisers' websites will have information on property taxes in there, but then you have to know how to back in all that information to do it. So save yourself the time, contact your lender, contact the title office, and they'll be happy to give that information to you. And that goes into, we talked about the homesteaded versus non-homesteaded and why it matters because it's going to affect your premium. And you want to know so that you can get as much of a discount as you possibly can. So this one, my property taxes went up. Why? And how do I fight it? It was fun. One day I was actually reading a chapter. I teach the real estate class, and I was literally reading the chapter on property taxes and how you fight your property taxes. And my friend called me and they were very upset. They just got their tax bill and they said, hey, my tax bill just doubled. And I don't agree with this and I want to fight it. And I was like, okay, here's what you need to do. When you get that notice, you need to contact the tax office, okay? Not your attorney, not your mom, not your friend. The first step is to contact the tax office and then file with them that you disagree. Then you will explain in writing and support it with valuations of properties that you feel is what your property should be taxed at instead of what they are taxing. Now, why did his property go up? The property tax appraiser's office sends out appraisers and they may do a drive-by and they also sit at the computer and they analyze what is happening in the market around your house. So in this particular market, he had his house, but all the surrounding houses around him sold at astronomical numbers. So even though he wasn't selling, the value of the property changed because the market changed. And I know he was upset and he said, I'm not selling, I'm not doing anything. I didn't do any improvements to my house. But if you did, then you would be able to benefit from it. So wasn't happy. Did he fight them? I don't know. I didn't follow up on there, but that would be the situation. Another thing that they do is they can look to see were there any building permits that were pulled. When they do a drive-by, they might see that you have a new roof or you've done some lot of work structurally to the outside of the house, which has increased the value of the home. And they say, hey, look, there's all these improvements. The value of the home is higher. They pull these building permits. They put in a pool. They added a second two-car garage on here. That's going to increase the value of your home, and that's going to change your property taxes. Now, when you're fighting it, you can contact me or a real estate agent that you trust in your area to run the numbers on what they believe the value of your property is. And then you can take that to help you protest the new value that they've given your house. Now, will you win or will you not win? I don't know, but you can get assistance. You don't have to go it alone. Your real estate agent will help you. I will be happy to help you. Just give me a call. And that is how you would protest your property taxes if you don't like them. And there was that time when we had the crash of the market, everybody's houses were valued a whole lot, and then you got your tax bill and the market had crashed. A lot of people did protest their tax bill and said, yeah, that was last year, but this year, that is not where it's at. And they were able to get a change in their tax rating on there. So I do hope that did answer all of your questions on can you get insurance in Florida? Yes. You do have to jump through a few more hoops, spend a little bit of money so that you can find out, what, if any discounts you can get, open yourself up to more companies, which could be more competitive and lower your rate, or negotiate with the seller or make some changes immediately after closing to help you get that insurance rate back down. And then flood insurance. Flood insurance is required if you are in a required flood insurance zone or a high risk and you have a mortgage, but you can try to reduce it by asking your surveyor and paying them extra to get the flood elevation certificate in hopes that that will lessen the burden on you for your flood insurance bill. And then your property taxes, always get an estimate from the title office or the lender, and they will need information like what is the closing price going to be? When are they going to move in? Are they going to live there or rent it out? Is there anything else about them that we might need to know that would qualify them for more exemptions to help lower that? And then that can give you a good idea because it's going to be based on the purchase price of your home and when you purchased it. So never rely on what you see in there. Always get the information for yourself so you are not surprised when suddenly your tax bill on your house could be $6,000 or for some people it could be $25,000. You just want to make sure that you know. Alachua County's is pretty high. I was just looking at mine online and my factor was like 19 on there, but I saw some that were 23. Again, it depends on what your exemptions are, and that's going to be different for each person. So let me just double check. Do I have any comments? No, I don't have any questions in here. Now, if you do have a question, if you're watching this later and you've got a question, and I did not answer it, or you want more information on it, let me know. I can either make it part of the next video, or if you want something that's you don't want shared, I'm happy to have a conversation with just you. My contact information is below. You can reach out to me. And if you are looking to relocate to Gainesville, Florida, or Central Florida, actually anywhere in Florida, I can help you. I got friends everywhere, and we can get you into the right place. So I will see you next time.